I thought maybe we would change the mood up a little bit and talk about the coming apocalypse. Talk about what Alexander Dugin believes is an apocalypse to give you an understanding of this situation and the situation in Ukraine and our oil situation, everything else. I think I have connected in my mind now what I feel was missing in this story. I think the Ukraine story is going to make sense to you in just a few minutes. Let me replay a phone call that came in about a half an hour ago.
I was calling because from your documentaries and your interviews on the expose that you did on Ukraine and the Bidens, and the interviews you've had with Teitelbaum, the discussions that you've had about Dugin.
Yes.
What I am seeing is making the connections from what you have taught and then the encouragement that you have given your audience to go out and do their own homework. I have gone out and read Dugin. I've read Teitelbaum's work, which are great, by the way.
Yeah.
And your work, your latest book, I'm about halfway through with that. But listening to you, you've told us these things. Putin, in my opinion, putting all the pieces together, his main goal, because it's a spiritual goal for him that'll keep him motivated, is he is fighting the globalist Great Reset.
Yes.
And
yes. Yes. And
Yes.
what is the United States and the other side fighting?
Oh, we are fighting against the Great Reset.
Yeah, no. In this war, he's fighting the Great Reset because it's a globalist movement, and the globalists are fighting the nationalist socialist idea, the idea that Russia is all important or that China is all important. It's the globe against the nationalists. That's what really is being. That's not what we're fighting. That's not what the average person anywhere in the world is fighting. But that's what our leadership all over the globe is fighting for. Russia to put Russia back on top. China to make sure they're on top. And the West to make sure we all come together in a nice globalist one-unit package that will all march to the sound of the same drum. You're right. Good job. Let's go back to that conversation that we just had on the phone.
Because obviously we are not fans of the Great Reset, for example.
We are not fans
Not
of the Great
fans of the
Reset.
Great Reset. And
Yes.
the caller said that Russia is fighting against the Great Reset. The globalist Great Reset is that really the way she said it.
Yes.
And then you said she was right. So are you... Because I don't feel like I'm fighting on the same side as Vladimir Putin on this one.
You're not.
Okay.
You're not. This is, I need to express, and I've been trying to express this in many ways. You've got to stop looking at the world you used to live in, the world you think you live in right now. That world is over. It's gone. Okay? The reason why we can't make ground is because people won't change. There's been a paradigm shift. And until you cross over and realize, oh, wait a minute, it's a different game being played, you're going to lose. You're destined to lose, okay? So here's what's happening. There are two realities. There's the one that most of us believe we're in right now, Republicans versus Democrats, or, you know, the Marxist against the constitutionalist. We believe that we live in a country that is free, that our republic represents us, and that we have rights, and the president of the United States actually represents the people of the United States, right? Okay. You don't live in that world anymore. Here's the real world. This is the world of the elites. It is National Socialism, fascism. That's China and Russia, okay? They will control their economies. They will tell industry exactly what to do. In Russia and in China, you don't agree, they kill you, okay? That is a system that they've had for a long time, and they're fighting for that, a nationalist system. Russia is important. China is not going to join any global community and say China is just another one of many nations. They're not going to do it. Neither will Putin. Okay? But that's what's happening to the West. Through the Great Reset, the Western leadership, they're not listening. Let me ask you this. How is it the United States, the president of the United States, is still buying Russian and Iranian oil today and telling us that there's nothing he can do about the price of oil and how it's going through? How it's going up. We all know he can. Just turn the spigot back on.
Right.
We all know
He's
that.
just saying feel the pain.
Correct. And the American people are going to have to, they're going to sacrifice for their values. Wait a minute. I don't see any of you guys sacrificing. What do you mean? We're going to have to sacrifice and there's nothing you can do. There's lots of things you can do. Because he's not the president of the United States. He's one president in the Great Reset. America's not special. You notice that we're not really leading the charge. It's France, it's England, it's Poland. We're in the mix, but it's a coalition. Now, let me ask you this. Have you ever seen, with every war, we've put together an international coalition. Uh-huh. And we've got some sanctions. Uh-huh. Have you ever seen sanctions work?
Not to the extent. I mean, they might have some effect.
Yeah, they have some effect.
They had an effect on Iran, but
Yeah.
I mean, only really hard ones and minimal effects usually.
Right. And why is it minimal? Because Iran can sell to somebody else.
Right.
They'll sell to France. Okay. So what do the sanctions really mean? Because you can't get everybody on the same page.
Right.
Now, let me talk about sanctions, the same kind of sanctions. When we went to war with Germany, you couldn't do business with a business in the Reich. So what did they do? IBM was there at Auschwitz. It's the IBM machines that made the Germans so efficient. Well, those machines, it was early punch cards. They had to be fixed every 2 weeks. Well, IBM's not going to do business. IBM did business. They just did it in their European offices. So IBM America, oh, no, we're not doing anything. IBM Europe was doing it, okay? You can't, when sanctions, you can't get all the countries together, and then you can't get private industry because you can't tell private industry exactly what to do, and they'll find a loophole if they're making money, right? Do you agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay, look at the sanctions that are happening right now. The federal government and all governments around the world, they're not the ones that control SWIFT. That's a international banking. That belongs to the banking sector. When you look at what's happening with the oil in Russia, Russia is not able to fill any tankers. Okay, they've got the port. They can get people, they can get oil into the tanker, but they can't sell it to anybody. They're even cutting the price. They're even saying, we'll pay for the shipping. Why won't anybody do it? They won't do it for a couple of reasons. One, the insurance companies will not insure those companies or those countries that are buying that oil. They say, no, you're on your own. If something happens to it, you pay for all of it. The other thing is the banks have told those countries sanctions can go on you, private, not this is not governments, this is private. Banks saying, I don't know if that's going to go well for you because then we have to question you and maybe you should receive sanctions. That's like IBM saying, hey, you're killing all the Jews. We're pulling all of our machines out. They didn't do that. Businesses never do that. Why is it happening this time? I truly believe this is the only thing that has made sense to me yet on trying to figure this whole Ukrainian thing out. What did Joe Biden do when he first got into office? He made it so Europe could have this pipeline. Whew. Okay, they're going to get oil. Then when he started flexing his muscles, what did he do? He said, well, this is 5 weeks ago. I mean, we don't know if he goes in and tries to take Ukraine, but if it's just a small incursion, then maybe then we'll have to discuss it.
Minor incursion.
Minor incursion. That means probably those 2 territories that he first said he was going to go in and get. Okay, a minor incursion. Then maybe I don't know what we'll do. Well, if I'm Putin, I look at my advisors when I hear that and go, did he just tell us we could take half of Ukraine and it would be kind of cool? Let's go. So our president has been enabling the whole world. Why didn't they just lie about it? Why didn't you just say Ukraine's not going to get into NATO? It's not even on. We're not doing that. Why didn't you just say that? Could have all been avoided, right? We didn't take easy steps, and we enabled him every step of the way. I'm not saying we plotted this or it was a plan to have him, but it is a crisis now, a major crisis that you don't want to go to waste. So now he's in. I've never seen sanctions like this ever before. Total and complete, except for that little leaky oil problem.
It does seem, though, that these are the harshest sanctions
I've ever
put
seen
on a country.
I've ever seen. And it's because of the private businesses being in step with the global governments. That's never happened before. They can tell you, but there's always workarounds because they're global companies. Okay? So now it's completely shut off. If this works, why will these sanctions be the first sanctions to work?
Because both sides are participating in unison, right? They're working
public and private partnerships. Global, not America, not led by Biden, but led by the world, led by the entire West. We didn't put this together. It was a cooperative. See what we can accomplish if we all just work as one. Imagine what we could do. Now, gosh, because of this, oil has just shot through the roof. And I don't know. I mean, it's good and bad. It stops inflation because nobody can afford anything or go anywhere because they can't afford oil. And oil helps us with all kinds of things, from synthetics to medicine to fertilizer. And now everything. It's a crisis. It's a crisis. Oil being at $150, $60, $200 a barrel is a crisis, and it has caused food shortages. Do you remember what happened when there was a wheat shortage in Egypt? Arab Spring. So we all have to work together again. We are watching the formation. What Ukraine is 15 days to flatten the curve. That's what Ukraine is. COVID was real. How it got out, I don't know. Not important, but it was real. It's not a conspiracy. It was real. What did they do? Took advantage. They took advantage. And all of us cheered it on. We're like, yeah, that's right. We should stay in our house. But we let the government do all of these things. We let them, because it was an emergency. Yeah, you should do those things. You should have those powers. And you're never going to get them back. Ukraine is 15 days to flatten a curve. What happens on the other side, I don't think we ever go back. And they make the case. Only the Great Reset, only this public-private global partnership is going to work from here on out. Look at what we've accomplished without any bullets.
So you're worried about how this power is used in the future. Maybe it's not just an invading nation, of a big nation invading a small nation, as Kamala would explain it.
Let me take just 1 minute and then just talk to you about Switzerland, which I find amazing. The president pointed it out as a speech yesterday in 60 seconds. Okay, so did you know that Switzerland was like, we're not going to take what? We're going to stop.
We're neutral.
Putin? No, we're neutral. You know what we do. We take gold and money from anybody.
It's our thing.
And it's all anonymous. It's why Swiss bank accounts are different than any other bank account. It's completely private. We don't ask any questions. Just put it here. Okay? That's the Swiss bank account that everybody knows. So the banks came to Switzerland and said, hey, guys, you got to cut off all of the funding and close those accounts with all of the oligarchs and everything in Russia. And they're like, you realize you're in Switzerland? That's kind of what we do. We can't do that. We're not going to do that. Otherwise, we're not a Swiss bank account. The next day, you're starting to see stories about how Switzerland is holding all of the pilfered gold from Venezuela and from the Philippines. We've known they have dirty gold and dirty money. But where do you think the Nazi money went? Yes, we know that. But that was released after they said, no, we can't help out. And what did they do after that release? Oh, you know what? I'm sorry, we had hot chocolate and the Swiss Miss on our mind. We're going to help. That's because the business sector came down on Switzerland and said, you're going to play by our rules. The one thing I learned about TARP, I know a guy who worked for Citibank, and he was their CFO. And he was there the night that the crash was happening. It was a Sunday night. And he said, we didn't need the bailout. We were fine. And the government said to him and all those in the room, you are all taking this, all of you, whether you like it or not. No one is leaving this room until all of your signatures are on this paper. You had no choice. That's fascism. That's what's happening here. And we're going to wake up after this is all said and done. We'll be like, oh, this was great. And then we'll realize, oh, no, just like Canada, they enacted the Great Reset, and the left thinks that's wonderful. Just to get rid of these very violent terrorist truckers. That's what the Great Reset is. This is a positive attribute of the Great Reset. But know that it is the Great Reset. This isn't the usual system. This is something brand new that they are doing to Putin. Now let's see if it works. My guess is it will, and we'll all celebrate. Warning,